My biggest passion is to do everything in my power to ensure that the children of our earth have a habitable earth in which to live, and to live healthy lives, to live good lives. Animal agriculture is the leading driver of climate change, which I think is the environmental disaster that's most pushing me, because it's so present, happening now, and so has such disastrous consequences. And we're on a tight time frame with climate change. And animal agriculture is a leading driver of that, and it's also one of the top 2 or 3 causes of pretty much any environmental disaster you can think of, whether it's species extinction or deforestation, pollution of our waterways, pollution of our air, et cetera, et cetera. So my goal is to do whatever I can in my power to reduce the consumption and production of animal products, so that we can turn around some of these really pressing environmental issues, so that our children have a really beautiful earth. I believe that the earth is so worthy of great stewardship, that we've been given this incredible planet on which to play and to grow and to learn, to connect and to love, and that it is our responsibility to show good stewardship to this earth. And I believe that the time is now. There's no better time than the present to really start being serious about whatever transformation is required in order that we might be more responsible stewards of our earth. Like, how can one person really make a big difference? When I first started feeling the call to do this work, to make sure that our children have a habitable planet, my idea was, I'm going to support as many people as possible to become vegan, or to go as close to that as they can. But what I realized after a couple of years of doing that work was that the problem is so huge that I was just making the tiniest drop in the bucket in terms of impact. And even if I really scaled up my business and really focused on the internet and reaching people that way, that I really probably wasn't going to make enough of a difference. And I used to do this shtick when I was talking to people, and I was focusing on health, because when people are going to make a tremendous lifestyle change, it usually helps to have something that's pushing them, instead of just like this idea that it would be a good thing to take care of the earth. But really, when people are worried about their health, it's then they're more willing to make big lifestyle changes. And so I do this shtick where I would say, did you know that there is one thing that is killing almost all Americans? And not only is it killing us, but it's robbing us of our vitality and our health and our energy and our fitness for the last 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 or more years of our lives. And not only that, but increasingly around the world, as people copy our lifestyle, it's killing them, and it's robbing them of their vitality as well. One thing, do you know what that one thing is? And then people would be leaning in, and I would pick up a fork, and I would put it toward my mouth, and I would say, it's what's on the end of our fork. And then I would talk about how it's a good thing we can make a choice about what's on the end of our fork, and I would give a presentation about the connection between animal products and ill health. But what I got really interested in changing was the factors that put that same toxic food on the end of almost everybody's forks. Like, it would be one thing if it was an aberration and only a few people were killing themselves by what they were choosing to eat. But there are greater forces at play that are putting that same food on people's forks, that are making that the easiest and the most expeditious, the most obvious choice. Melody Joy calls it that eating meat is seen as natural, normal, and necessary, and someone's added nice. And in our culture, that is. Most people think it's just the natural, normal, necessary thing to do. But there's reasons why it seems natural, normal, and necessary. And so I started thinking about, how can I make an impact on those reasons? Instead of supporting people to change one at a time, how could I make it easier, more natural, more expeditious to eat more plants and less animal products? And I landed on this idea, which is kind of the epitome of think globally and act locally, because I decided that in my county, Santa Cruz County, I'm I'm starting to build a movement, create a team that can do a number of projects locally that do two things. The first thing is that all of these projects need to make it easier for people to eat more plants and less animal products, or at least more plants, right? So the products need to make it easier, so if somebody chooses to do the right thing by their body, by the earth, by the animals, by our spiritual integrity, it'll be easier for them to make that choice. They won't feel like they're swimming upstream against a current that's pressing them toward the standard American diet. Each of these projects will somehow influence one of the institutions that's currently reinforcing the standard American diet as the status quo. So that would be pretty much any of the major institutions and many of the minor institutions in our culture. So education and the justice and law enforcement and government and churches and corporations, et cetera, these major institutions that for the most part, I don't think consciously, but more unconsciously, the media, like the Thanksgiving is coming, right? It's not now, but Thanksgiving was recently. And so the media is full of, how do you cook the turkey? Like just kind of the stamp of approval that this is what you do at Thanksgiving is you eat a bird, So like how can the media instead make it seem as normal and natural to eat vegetables and fruits, and whole grains and legumes and nuts and seeds? And so while we're doing these projects locally, starting with an initiative called Green Monday Santa Cruz, which will get the local government to institute a program where one day a week, any food they serve is going to be plant-based. And there's other aspects of it. So that's the first one we're coming out with. But while we're doing these projects locally, remember I said think globally and act locally, I'm also documenting everything I'm doing and creating worksheets and lists, tip sheets, things like that, so that I can be a resource, so that our community can be a resource to other communities worldwide. And I'm already in contact with people in 4 different places in California who are very interested in this work. So I feel like a grassroots movement like this can really have a big impact as each community starts to make it more natural and normal for people to eat more plants and less animal products.